and I will give it to you for a possession, I the Lord. But when Moses told this to the Israelites, they would not listen to Moses, their spirits crushed by cruel bondage. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Go and tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to let the Israelites depart from his land." But Moses appealed to the Lord, saying, "The Israelites would not listen to me. How then should Pharaoh heed me, a man of impeded speech?" Then only a few verses later, after God again tells Moses to speak to Pharaoh, Moses appeals to God. "See, I am of impeded speech. How then should Pharaoh heed me?" When I first read these words, the thought that occurred to me, that jumped into my mind, was Moses is trying to find his voice. One of our greatest leaders in the Torah is trying to find his voice, and we get to be a part of his journey. I felt empowered and inspired by this idea because in the world we are navigating today, finding your voice is an essential part of making an impact, making the world a better place. What does it mean to have a voice? We all have a voice. Whether consciously or unconsciously, every single person here today has a voice. Think about it for a moment. Ask yourself, who am I? I am mother, wife, daughter, sister, granddaughter, niece, cousin, friend, rabbi, student, teacher, coworker, me. Who hears me? Who listens to what I say? My family, friends, students, congregants, colleagues, people I randomly talk to, people who see my Facebook posts, even people who may talk about me to others. Then ask yourself, who do all those people talk to? When you break it down like that, who we interact with can be endless. If that many people are paying attention to what we say, then we should take note that all of our voices hold power. And with it, I would say, a lot of responsibility. The amazing thing about this, however, is that we have the ability to define how we use our voices. It is not a passive power. We can choose how we use our own voices every day. In a phone conversation, a text message, an email, a post, a classroom, a boardroom, a Zoom meeting. We have the power to decide how we want to be heard, how we want to be listened to. So now that we know how expansive and varied our voices can be, the important question remaining is, how do I find my voice? In this week's Torah portion by Ariel, it is clear Moses is not comfortable with his voice yet. He appealed to God twice here and once in our previous Torah portion. How will Pharaoh heed me? I am of impeded speech. Why does Moses feel his speech is impeded? As Moses told God in last week's Torah portion, I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. But I believe it is more complicated than that. Moses doubts himself. He is questioning why God picked him to go to Pharaoh, why God picked him to free his people and lead them out of Egypt, why God chose him to be a leader. Moses does not feel ready to embrace the task, the leadership role that God placed him in. However, similar to the way God responds to Moses' appeal in our previous Torah portion, Shemot, God says to Moses here, "See, I place you in the role of God to Pharaoh, with your brother Aaron as your prophet. You shall repeat all that I command you, and your brother Aaron shall speak to Pharaoh to let the Israelites depart from his land. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that I may multiply my signs and marvels in the land of Egypt." Here, God is giving Moses the tools to find his voice as a leader. God does not let Moses turn away, but gives him strength to continue forward. First, God puts Moses in the role of God. As God explains, Moses will speak God's words. Second, Aaron will be Moses' prophet, his spokesperson. Moses will not be alone. He will have a partner. And third, God's signs and marvels. God will provide physical validation that A, proves to the entire world that God exists, and B, validates Moses, the fact that he was able to do the task, the job that God gave to him. So, how can we find our voices? In the world we live in today, how do we find our own individual voices in a sea of voices? How can our voices be strengthened? We can use God's 3 tools as a guide. First, find the people along your journey that will help push you farther than you could go by yourself. Whether that be God, a parent, a teacher, someone who can see something in you that you can't necessarily see in yourself. Second, you are not alone. You have a support system. You have partners, friends, and confidants who help strengthen your voice and be a part of your journey. When you have people in your corner, you are much more powerful. And third, validation in the external world that signals to you that you have grown, achieved what you originally thought was impossible. For example, it took 10 plagues for our people to be freed. And Martin Luther King Jr. was validated with the physical passing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. I challenge you to use each of these tools for yourself to help you find your own voice, while also embodying them to help inspire others on their journey to find theirs. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Let us now